Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our daily videos. And Blessed Holy Week. We're now in Holy Week, kind of the highest week of the year for us as Christians. It's a sad thing we can't gather together physically in our liturgies, because especially for us as Catholic, the liturgies of Holy Week, of Holy Thursday, Good Friday, are so rich and beautiful. But it did inspire me, even though we can't gather for liturgical prayer physically, but though we can via live stream. I did want to use this. We've been talking about different forms of prayer, expressions of prayer, methods of prayer in the last number of days. And so I wanted to talk today about liturgical prayer. In Catholic Christianity, when we gather formally as church, there's this instinct of prayer, we celebrate, we have a particularly liturgical prayer. Now, from the outsider looking in, it can just seem like mere ritual, especially if you don't know what's going on. It's like, oh, they know all these rituals, but I don't know what's going on. And I want to talk a little bit about that, about why we have this formalized prayer, and more so the elements that make it up. So first of all, liturgical prayer, it's really meant to be this prayer that is for everybody, that's for the gathered people as the church. So it incorporates all these other elements of prayer. So we talked about different forms of prayer. We talked about praise and thanksgiving as different types of prayer, praising God and thanking God. We talked about petition and intercession in forms of praying for, asking God for things for ourselves, asking for His mercy, surrendering to Him, and praying for others, invoking His mercy on behalf of others as well. Then we also talked about these expressions of prayer, vocal prayer, using these memorized prayers that we know the words, so the words can sink more deeply into us, and using those words, which are very heavily based, of course, on Scripture. And then meditation, that we have these words, but that we chew on and reflect, and moving into contemplation. Sort of all these elements are meant to be at work in our liturgical prayer. There's a few other unique things of liturgical prayer that I want to mention as well. Three things specifically. The physicality, or the engaging of the senses, signs and symbols, and beauty. And they're all interrelated to each other. But so besides this instinct of, if we gather together in prayer, we should make sure to incorporate praise and thanksgiving, petition, intercession. There should be some vocal prayer. There should be some meditation, some time for silence. And of course, some singing. So besides incorporating all those things together, there's also this sense of that we should engage physically the whole person in prayer. And so in Catholic churches, especially older Catholic churches, you'll notice that everything is meant to sort of engage you in prayer. First of all, we have these beautiful spaces. It's not just because we like pretty things or expensive things. It's meant that this whole space, just visually, first of all, is meant to engage you and lift your mind up to something more, to think about God, to enter into His presence. And we're very physical beings. We're very engaged by our senses. That's how we engage the world. So having things of the senses, not only visually and the special vestments, but the sound, the music, even the smells. Sometimes we use incense to engage our smells. But even in our posture and gestures, there's certain times that we stand, and when we kneel, and when we sit. And those are all meant to engage our body more fully and to communicate that something deeper is going on. Like, okay, I'm standing now. What is going on? What is the meaning of this, that we're standing during this time? Or now we're kneeling. What does this mean? So it's to engage us in prayer in a deeper way. And even the gestures we do. Of course, we Catholics, we do the sign of the cross as a gesture. We also, at the gospel, sign or cross our head, our lips and our hearts. The gospel may be our mind, lips, and hearts. And other such gestures. We genuflect when we come to church, and so forth. We also bow at times too. During the creed, there's a time that we bow, and so forth. So that's the physicality piece of it. That it's engaging our whole physicality in all of our senses is what it's meant to do. But also, liturgical prayer incorporates these signs and symbols. That part of engaging the senses is using these signs and symbols and these symbolic rituals to communicate something more. Because you see, the mystery of God is such, he's so profound and incredible that mere words are not enough. We communicate the depths of who God is by more than simply words, but through signs, through symbols that communicate something of much more depth, that can speak more deeply than words. Candles and flames, these vestments, the sacredness of the space, this altar in the center, and especially during Holy Week. One of the things that breaks my heart the most is that we can't gather is there's such rich, these things we do, these tangible things we do that have such rich meaning and symbolism. Like Holy Thursday. Yes, we talk about Jesus washing the feet. For me as a priest, then it adds a whole new level of reality that communicates this gospel to me when I stoop down as priest and wash the feet of my people. That all of a sudden communicates a much deeper depth, or brings to life the gospel, the profundity of this in a much deeper way. That on Good Friday, we have this veneration of the cross, where we have a large wooden cross that we can go up and touch and venerate and kneel before and kiss and so forth. And especially on Easter Vigil, Holy Saturday, one of my favorite images, symbols that we have is when we start on Easter Vigil Saturday night, the whole church is dark. And then we have this one large single candle, the Paschal candle, the symbol of Christ's light, that comes into the church. The single light in the darkness, or in the darkness of death in the tomb of Christ, the single light comes in. And the priest proclaims the light of Christ. The light of Christ. And then everyone lights their candles from this light as we take on the light of Christ, and it just illuminates the room in this beautiful way. And and yes, I can talk about it, but it's a whole nother thing to just experience that. That it's this symbolic ritual, but that communicates so much more, this depth, deeper than words, the mystery and the power of what is really happening in Jesus Christ. And there's so many more signs and symbols. I mean, I could talk for hours and hours about all the different signs and symbols we use and what they mean and their layers of meaning, the cross, the fabrics, the altar, and so forth. So there's physicality, engaging the senses, signs and symbols, and also, one thing I love is that the church, from early on in Christianity, has had this instinct of beauty. That when we encounter Christ, we're encountering beauty itself. And that the encounter with Christ makes our souls, transfigures the world, our souls, who we are, into something beautiful. And we come from being something broken to something beautiful. So even to walk into a beautiful church space, to see these things that were once dust and stone and dead wood, to be transfigured and transformed into something beautiful, radiant stained glass. And it communicates to me, first of all, the beauty of God, but also what's to happen in my soul when I encounter with God. That it's this transfiguration, this beautifying, making beautiful. That we walk in as broken people, and God transforms us, molds us into something beautiful. But whether we realize it or not, our souls yearn and long for beauty. Because our souls react differently when we walk into, say, an office space or a warehouse, or when we walk into a big, beautifully well-built building, whether a church or sometimes old theaters or even like the Capitol building. It's a very important and magnificent building, but there's something about that engages us. And so there's this sense of beauty. So that's why we have beautiful things isn't just because we like nice things, but there's something about beauty that engages our soul in a deeper level. That you could argue about beauty, but you can't argue with beauty. It just speaks to us, a part of our soul on a whole nother level. So, even though, again, I know we can't gather for liturgical prayer this week, but even whether you online stream videos or just meditating on the different signs and symbols, the physical gestures, and the way that God engages us in beauty. It's liturgical prayer. I hope you all have a blessed Holy Week. I'll post a video the next couple days as well. But then Thursday and Friday, my videos will be my homily for Holy Thursday and for Good Friday in English, because the services I'll be doing will be in Spanish. So be looking out for that. Keep checking our website and Facebook pages for more information and resources to come. Peace be with you. God bless.